So a visionary is somebody that holds a vision of a more thriving and united world and has a pathway or solution to get there. So basically, I see this future state with this group of people or this society or organizations or animals, and I see this vision coming to life through this certain pathway happening. And the pathway could be a movement, products, services that are all aligned with that vision actually taking place.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Create Your Life. I am your host, Simone Leah. So I just wanted to let you guys know that today's interview is actually an interview that I recorded about a year ago when I ran an online event called the Soul-Led Entrepreneurs Summit. It was a really wonderful event. I had some beautiful, amazing speakers talking about things like connecting with your intuition and how you can use that in your business, how to do Facebook advertising, how to do marketing as a soul-led entrepreneur, all of these cool things to do with business, entrepreneurship, and actually also spirituality and connecting within. And so these interviews were so wonderful that I really wanted to be able to share them with you now. So if when you're watching this, you see or hear the word soul-led entrepreneurs, this is still the Create Your Life show, but these interviews were just too good for me to keep to myself any longer. So I really hope you guys enjoy this interview, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Hey guys, and welcome back to Soul-Led Entrepreneurs. My name is Simone and I'm your host today. So I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Kellyanne Weiss, and she is the creator of the Visionary's Journey. So we had an absolutely amazing chat about what a visionary actually is and what the journey of a visionary looks like. So Kelly is a business strategist. She's a creative storyteller, leadership coach. She's a heart math certified coach and mentor, and she is the founder of Visionary Sessions. So her vision for humanity sees a new wave of leaders creating evolutionary change through business by taking a visionary approach. It was just a really open conversation about the sort of stuff that can come up for you in your journey as an entrepreneur and a visionary, and what can happen when you start to access some of those gifts. So it was a really great conversation. I really enjoyed connecting with Kelly, and it was just really fun and more like talking to a friend on the couch. So it was a really great chat, and I hope you all enjoy it. Hey guys, welcome back to Soul-Led Entrepreneurs. My name is Simone and I'm here with Kellyanne Weiss, creator of A Visionary's Journey. How are you going today, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm really good, Simone. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good. I'm super excited to chat today because we're going to be talking about building and creating a business as a visionary, which I think is a very interesting topic that I'm super excited to hear about. But would we be able to firstly start with the important question of what does being soul aligned in business mean to you?
Well, I believe that everybody has a calling, which you could call an assignment, that a purpose and a reason of why we're here. So being soul aligned to me means that you're aligned to your calling, you're using your gifts, and everything's in alignment when it comes to your purpose and your reason for being here.
Amazing. I love that. I totally agree. So what is a visionary?
Okay, that's a good question. So I feel that it's a word that it has evolved. The definition has evolved, or you could say that I'm making up my own definition of it now, just to make it more accessible to people. So a visionary is somebody that holds a vision of a more thriving and united world and has a pathway or solution to get there. So basically, I see this future state with this group of people or this society or organizations or animals, and I see this vision coming to life through this certain pathway happening. And the pathway could be a movement, products, services that are all aligned with that vision actually taking place. So a visionary is a person that has a calling or has an assignment inside of them that they need to lead a vision in a particular area. And the pathway and the solutions are revealed to them, whether it's all at once or whether it's in pieces or whether it's evolving.
So how would someone know they're a visionary then? Because like, yeah, like a lot of people or entrepreneurs, for example, they have this idea of wanting to build something. What sets them apart from visionaries?
It's a good question. So last year, I created an online event series called Visionary Sessions, and it was basically visionaries talking about emerging leadership and marketing practices. And a lot of people attended because they were drawn to, so how I presented it was co-creating solutions for a more united and thriving world. So a lot of these people were, hey, I want to contribute to a more united and thriving world. Yeah, that really resonates with me. I'm ready to, give up maybe comfort from a secure job or the known and step into the unknown and really see how I can contribute to this united and thriving world. So a lot of people that were called for that turned up, and then after a few of the sessions, they realized that they were visionaries and they never would have described themselves like that before. So that is one way that you can know. So if you don't know, usually you are what I'm calling an emerging visionary. So you're just emerging and coming out as a visionary. And then obviously once you know what your vision is, then you're more solid in it. So for the emerging visionaries, I'd say that if you are called to contribute to a united and thriving world, and you're willing to uncover what your gifts and unique contribution are, and you're committed to the pathway of personal evolution, because collective evolution, so a thriving and united world, is obviously the collective evolving, can only happen by us personally evolving. And by us, I mean the people that are leading the way. So that's a big part of being a visionary, that you're committed to your own personal evolution.
Yeah. That's amazing. I literally love that. And I think it's so interesting because it's almost like the difference is you're wanting to make a global impact for the betterment of of the planet, really, as opposed to maybe an entrepreneur who's like, yep, cool, I want to start this business because I love business. It kind of feels like the visionary is coming from a different place on the inside and coming from more of a let's make a global impact for the better. Does that kind of, how does
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a common talk that I give, and it's called it basically talks about the difference between holding a company vision and the vision for humanity. And when I talk about when we look at a company vision or a business, it's always solving a problem. So here's a problem and here's my solution. My product or service is a solution to this problem. So that's a typical transactional business, right? But the vision for humanity is saying, this is how I see the world in a more improved state. And it doesn't have to be a world, it could be a community, it could be a group of people, it could be the environment, it could be animals. I've worked with visionaries that are innovating in the education system, for children, that are looking at conscious consumerism, us changing the way that we think about how we spend our money. Also, a financial planner who's adding in purpose. So instead of just looking at managing your finances, align it with your sole purpose and work out what that is. So these are all visionaries that are focused in one specific area, which in turn impacts the world. So it's a piece of unity for the whole world. So it doesn't always have to be this huge, big systems level change to be visionary. It can just be this certain sector that you're bringing more unity to. So that's the main difference. It's not as transactional, and it's not just problem solution, because if you're just looking at an existing problem and how to solve it, that's quite, looking down and limited, whereas a vision is more expansive and serves greater good, essentially.
Yeah, cool. I love that. And I totally understand what you're saying because I do feel like that um I feel like sometimes when I try and explain things, it's not going to come out as clear as I want it to. But what I'm kind of getting at is a lot of people, when they build a business or they build something, they build it in a way that's quite restrictive. And it's like, okay, this is what we do, this is the box we fit in. Whereas it feels like with what you're saying, the visionary doesn't put any like walls or limitations. It's just open and expansive in more of a way that allows for an alignment to draw in whatever is next for them on that path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you got it. And what I like to say is that taking a company vision approach, it's very I focused, so I being the company. So when you say we, okay, you're talking about the company, your profits, your products and services. So it's very singular focused, whereas a vision for humanity, the we is the good of all. So it's the planet, humanity, people. So that in itself, having that expansive we focus, means that everything changes, and the ego and the need to prove things, and self-glorification and the typical things that go on in business right now, they drop away. So you're not spending all your time on building up your own image or focusing on I call it the ego.
Yeah.
Me. So you're not so focused on that. And of course, when you have this more expansive approach, then yeah, the information that you need, you receive. But one of the most exciting things is that the products and services form around you. So in a traditional business, you're like, all right, what's a product or service that I need to put out there to solve this problem? Whereas when you have this vision, it becomes clear what products and services you need at the time, and they evolve. So I like to say that products and services come and go, but the vision stays aligned.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful way to word it, really, isn't it? That's really lovely. So, okay, so if someone is a visionary, so I guess they have this vision and then they stay in alignment with that vision, but they go with wherever they're kind of attracted into and whatever kind of comes up. Like, how does their path normally work?
Okay, so first of all, it's the forming the vision. Okay, so I created a framework called the Visionary's Journey, which is the 10 stages a visionary goes through from birth until the full realization of their vision. So stage 3 is when stage 3 is when you really become aware that you're a visionary. So the first 2 stages are more, when you're younger and not quite aware that that is your pathway. So the first stage of when you're aware that you're a visionary is really the exploration. So uncovering the vision, which group or sector or part of society do I want to innovate and focus on? What are my gifts? What's my unique contribution? What are my passions? So you're matching up all of that. And then you go through the next stage of testing it out. So putting it out there to the world, the little, whether it may not be the full vision, but it's just formulating. And then when you get to the outside of the emerging, you've got the re-evolving, and that's when your vision continues to expand and evolve. And that's where the products and services that once served can take new shape and form. And when you're getting to that stage, so a really important thing to keep in mind is you can't leave a vision alone. Okay, so it takes other people that resonate and are aligned to your vision to contribute to it actually coming into fruition. So when you've got the clarity and you've got proof of concept and it's out there and you're open to keep re-evolving it, because nothing's finite, a product, a service, a model, that I don't believe that they're finite, right? They're timely, and then they're constantly up for assessment, right? So at that point, you've got people that resonate, there's momentum going on, the right products and services are there or coming and going. And towards the later stages of re-evolving, you're starting to enter what I'm calling remastering. And all of stages 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they're all about your own personal evolution. So you start to go beyond the mind and just operating from the mind, and you start to take a more heart-centered, multi-dimensional, intuitive approach. So you're receiving higher levels of intelligence directing you and guiding you. You've got, there's more, I'm going to say, effortless support and alignment and flow.
I literally love all of that. And I'm so excited about this product. Like, I'm literally super pumped as a resource. It sounds amazing. So when you say about people's gifts and things like that and getting that guidance, um, are we talking about gifts more of like the psychic connection type of sort of guidance and gifts, or are we like, what sort of things are we talking about there?
It's both. So I like to say the visible and the invisible gifts. So whether it's you're good at leadership or positively influencing people or holding space, being a facilitator, guiding, motivating people, whatever those known gifts are, you start to become aware of them and say, all right, so this is what I've come into in this life. And I've had my childhood and, early part of my career to develop and evolve those gifts. And then you add in, okay, so what are my invisible gifts? Whether it's using intuition or, some other capacities as well that go beyond that.
I love that. And do you help people in like your work and things like that get a grasp on those gifts? Because I know for me, if I hadn't have had actual people kind of just going, yep, this could, like, it was very handy to have people to call and be like, I just saw something weird. Like, so do you help people understand what's going on when some of those gifts that they're not necessarily used to are coming online?
Yeah, definitely. So I do work as an intuitive. That is one of my main gifts, being able to, I'll say, clairaudient, so being able to hear information. So I combined that with my traditional marketing career about 6 years ago and switched over from just using the mind in marketing to channeling the information from higher intelligences. So I've been able to integrate that. So when I have a life purpose and contribution session that I usually do with visionaries in the emerging stages. And during that stage, I do tell them some of their gifts, and then I give them tips and guidance and exercises that they can do to open up and get awareness of what some of their other gifts are. So I'm all about personal empowerment. So rather than them having to keep paying for sessions and finding out, I give them as many tools as I can for them to develop their own intuition, so then they can get more insights of what some of their other gifts are.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I also feel like a lot of the time when you go down that sort of path of starting to understand your gifts, like I know for me, I had mine through my childhood, and then I just put them all into my brain and was like, oh no, I just know things because I can read body language or this or that. So I kind of feel like that where yes, you can expand a lot through exercises and all of that sort of stuff. Having someone kind of who's been through it and understands what you're going through just helps you develop that level of trust within yourself. I felt like, especially when like this was stuff that I'd had my whole life and I just hadn't even realized that it was anything that other people, you just assume everyone's the same as you. And so, yeah, when I was like more in my 20s and was kind of like, yep, it's because I'm business minded and I read, I've learned about body language and I kind of know kind of roughly what's going on with things. And yeah, having that person there to guide you is definitely so helpful on that journey. Do you find that a lot of visionaries do have other gifts that start to open up once they do develop that self-awareness of their more seeable gifts? Once they start to develop the awareness of those seeable gifts, they start to also develop that self-awareness of the less seeable and the more unseen gifts.
Yeah, that's a really good story. And I had a similar thing where I was born able to hear and see spirits and ghosts, and it was quite scary, you know, being a kid and seeing all of that. So I asked for it to be taken away because I was too scared. And whenever I went to, you know, like psychic expos, they kept going, "You're really clairvoyant." And I'm like, "I know, but I'm scared." So they told me to train with some psychics to get my confidence back. So I did that in 2010 in Vancouver. And then I was able to reintroduce and bring back what was already there. And then really the journey after that, once you identify what your intuitive gifts are, meaning whether you're more predominant in seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing when you receive information. So that's what I mean by intuition. You're receiving information through one or more of those four faculties. And then the trusting part can take years, right? So you can go, all right, great. So I know that I hear things or I see things or I know things. And then it can take years to actually trust the messages. So a big part of what I do in group work and the content that I put out there, and whether I'm working one-on-one, it's that's at the foundation. It's how can you tune into your own divine intelligence. I do a lot of work, meditations with the heart, so guided meditations, and that's a way that people can access their intuition really quickly and easily. So that's involved in a lot of the work that I do. And so there's constant encouragement and guidance of develop these faculties that you have, and then you can go beyond that. So I personally work with portals. So that was something that I found out is a gift that I have a few years ago. And yeah, so I've spent a lot of time just doing my own work by myself after being confident with my own intuition, and I get revealed this is another gift and this is another one and another one, and I write them all down and work with them. So that's what will happen eventually. Once you get the confidence, you'll start to get guided yourself what some of your more invisible gifts are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Like, I love that that's your journey, and then like it's even gone to like portals and cool stuff like that. Because I know that some people will just feel more towards things that like align with them, and so your thing obviously really aligns with portals. Like I know someone else who really aligns with like star seeds and like that sort of thing. So it's really, really cool to hear that your thing is portals. I'd love to have a whole conversation just about that. Honestly, I think that's super cool. So, okay, so when we do have a visionary who's coming online, they're realizing that they're a visionary. They're realizing that they've got all these gifts that are starting to show up. They're realizing that potentially they always had them, but they've just never trusted them. What kind of happens next? When do they start attracting in those other people to help them on that path?
Okay, well, one of my most, I think, important messages that I like to tell to emerging visionaries, which is who you're describing, they're in stages 3 and 4, is it's all about exploration. So it's all about uncovering and going here and exploring this and trying, like that's part of the journey. Like a lot of people in that stage go, something's wrong, I don't know, I should know right now. And no, the exploration is part of it. Nothing is wrong if you're still trying to work it out and you test something. And so, for example, before I knew that I was completely working with visionaries, like I started to teach meditation in co-working spaces and to corporates, and then doing like conscious travel stuff because I like to travel. And so there was all these bits and pieces that I did because I felt passionate about them and I felt called. And, you know, I did a few yoga teacher trainings before I got more into the meditation. And so all of those pieces were part of the journey and the exploration. It didn't mean that I had to stick with them, you know, so follow where your highest passion is from your heart, not your head. And, you know, follow that lead and then see how far that takes you. And it might take you to a certain place and then you're there. And okay, so now this is my next highest passion. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to create this and offer this workshop, or I'm going to write this piece. So that's really part of the journey. That's important. It's not about you just wake up and go, here's my clear vision of my product and I'm going to put it out there. I haven't really seen that happen. The discovery and the exploration is a big part of it. So my message will be to embrace that. Don't think there's anything wrong, and don't feel that you have to stick with something or finish something off.
Yeah.
There's this stigma in society that, oh, you have to complete something when you finish it, and or you have to stick with something once you've committed to it, in especially in your career. So really enjoy the exploration and do something as long as it feels aligned and resonant. And it's really a stepping stone, you know, it brings you there. And then from that place, there's a more expansive view. So then you do something else and that takes you higher up the mountain, and then you've got a bigger view. So that's the way that I look at it.
I love that. It's like going through life just with a curious, explorative nature. It's like just viewing life as the journey, you know, like really just getting clear on, you know what, life's the journey. Let's see where it leads. So I think that's really lovely. So when do people start to get clear and call in other people? Is that sometimes normally like a
Oh,
couple of years, or can that be everyone's time frames different, or?
so when you say other people, you're referring to clients
Well, because
mostly?
I know you said earlier that when you're a visionary, you don't necessarily build the vision on your own. You build it as a community or a team, or you know,
Yeah.
when would someone like, yeah, how do they get to that point where they're starting to call in other people?
Okay, well, that would be, so emerging is stages 3 and 4, and re-evolving is stages 5 and 6. So stage 5 is the realization. So the realization is when you are clear on your vision. So keep in mind that the vision could expand even more. So you do have a vision at that stage. You have product, services, offerings that you've already that you have proof of concept, and you're seeing success and it feels right, and you know that that's the way forward. So by then you might have some people that really resonate with your work that will keep following you, and you know, as you evolve, hired some staff to help out. So, you know, like a marketing assistant, VA, some other consultants at that point. So when you believe in your vision and you've seen proof of it and you're feeling confident, that's when the people around you will start to also demonstrate that too. So that's what I found when I started working intuitively in marketing, and I developed this system called a business blueprint. So the more confident I got about that, the more other people reacted in a confident way. So it's really, it matches the confidence and the energy and the certainty where you're at. That's when people start to come in more. That's one part of it. And the second part is really where you're constantly following a calling. So it's not forcing and going, oh, I need to have this, and it has to be clear, and you know, all of that like over masculine pressure. It's more opening up, following, sometimes because really it's about embodiment. So you really need to start embodying your vision, even though it's a future state. A visionary will eventually embody their vision in the present, and people will feel that it's here now when they're around the visionary. And that's when it really escalates and everything becomes supportive and in alignment. So my point there is that the embodiment piece can take a little bit longer. So you might have the vision and have a few pieces, but you're not getting as much traction because you need to spend like maybe 6 months in a deep, intensive spiritual evolution part, or 3 years in going through and learning a few lessons and, you know, releasing limiting beliefs. So there is timing around it and it can't be forced. And it doesn't mean something's wrong because it hasn't happened yet.
I say this so often. I really need to like get new words, but I love that. And I tell you why is because I feel like a lot of people they set these time frames on themselves and they go in 6 months time I'm going to be hiring X amount of staff or whatever. And like I know in my own experience that the more I've just let go of time frames and just gone, you know what, I'll know when it's ready, the more that things have happened in a flow state and it's almost like they're happening. I'm not actually doing anything. They're just kind of happening, if that makes sense. So I
Mhm.
love what you're saying there because it's kind of taking that pressure away from setting goals on like, I need to be at this place. I need to be at this place. Because sometimes when you do that, you do put that resistance there. Whereas if you can just be like, I'm just going to keep working on myself. I'm going to keep working on the vision and things will just align in flow as I go along. I feel like that is a lot more in alignment. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's stages. So we're used to, more of the masculine pushing and creating and strategizing and forming. And so that kind of method, and me being a marketing strategist is, what I was used to as well. And we're now moving more into introducing more of the feminine. I'm not saying only the feminine, just having it more balanced. So leading from what I call the emergent field. So the emergent field is really tuning into the intelligence and the information that's coming through in this present moment. So the emergent field is, accessing the information now, not yesterday, not 2 weeks from now, but right now. So when you work from that place, yes, a lot of things will align around you, but you also know what action to take. So it's not passive where I don't have to do much and I'm just going to allow. It's taking action when you're getting the clear downloads. And that's what happened to me last year when I got guided to create visionary sessions, to create these online events at the beginning of the pandemic, and to not have any attachment to it as to this has to be a business and it has to make this and it has to do that. It was literally 3 speakers, 3 events. This is the vision for the events. I put it out there, didn't do any paid advertising, had 35 people from around the world live every week who then at the end said, we want more. And I said, well, I don't have any more. So the 3 speakers just came back and gave more talks elaborating. So then I had to hire a VA to help out. And so everything just happened, but I had to take that action when I got that download saying this is something that you need to create. And I did go the 2 people that I trusted and share that with them. And they said, I really see this being important and something that needs to be done. So I got that confirmation and then I took action. So if you're receiving downloads and information and you're not taking action, then that can be a block as well. And then if you're looking at, one size fits all or fear-based marketing models that are saying you need to do this, this, and this, and you're kind of forcing it through, like you're referring to, then you're mixing energy that isn't in alignment of being a soul-led entrepreneur. You're mixing the old in with this more emerging way of operating, and it muddies what you're doing. Like it muddies the energy, and then when you're presenting to people and you're bringing in a lot of those old principles, then that can slow it down as well. And I did that in the beginning because I was just using what I knew in with this new information without realizing that it needs to be a split and only needs to be that pure work in the emergent field energy. And that's just something that we all need to learn. And
I
yeah.
definitely totally agree. And I feel like there's always going to be a need to take action. But as we're saying, is when that action is coming from that place of you receiving the guidance and the downloads, that's when it doesn't actually feel like you're really taking action, because you're just doing what you're called to do. Whereas I feel like when you're taking the actions that you think you need to take, and that society has said this is the next step after this, and then you've got to do this, and then you've got to do this, and you're not actually listening into you. So the old way, I think, as you were saying, I feel like that's when it feels like you're doing something. Whereas when you're listening to that guidance and it's just coming through and you're just acting on that alignment and that guidance when it's coming through, it feels like you're barely doing anything. You're just following these little suggestions and nudges and hints. And because they're in such alignment, it just seems to flow so easily. That's kind of how I feel about it. Does that sound kind of a bit?
Yeah, you said the word doing a lot, and it's interesting because I feel like we're moving out of being human doings into human beings. So you could almost say that what you were just describing is your being, rather than, it doesn't feel like doing because you're being.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have heard that saying before, but never applied to myself. So I love that. Yay. But yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like there is this shift from people who are just doing things all the time to people who are connecting in and really just being who they are and in the moment and sharing their gifts and growing and expanding in their actual being. I feel like that's kind of the sort of time that we're moving forward into.
Mhm, definitely. And it's a journey to get there. We have our limiting beliefs and our triggers, and all of that is going to come up, being a visionary. And it's a blessing when it comes up, because we can see it and we can bring it to the light and we can release it. So often it can feel like a lot of visionaries can feel that they're going backwards, because a lot of stuff's coming up that they thought that they dealt with, and it's like, no, it's actually the opposite. You're A, you can't go backwards, and B, it's coming up because it's ready to be released. It's like deep in there, and maybe you worked on the surface level for 20 years and now like the rest of it is just coming up. So yeah, embrace the messiness and kind of if there's any turmoil coming up, and allow it to come up, rather than repress it or deny it or feel ashamed, or so that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, I definitely totally agree with that as well. And just, yeah, acknowledging what is coming up is so important, because I think a lot of people, the old model is just push it down or push it away. But as you said,
Mm,
it's coming up to be cleared. So, acknowledge it, doesn't mean wallow in it for 3 weeks, but at least
yeah.
acknowledge that it's there, So I definitely
And
agree.
have tools too. So there's the acknowledgement, and then there's having tools, working with practitioners that can actually help you move through it. So whether it's a mentor, EFT, NLP, past life regression, Reiki, like whatever it is, it's really important to develop some tools, meditation, breathing exercises that you can do yourself. So
Yeah. And it is nice, I think, like to do the mixture of self work, but also having someone help you in case you do need to go to some of those deeper places and clear some of those deeper things. Because sometimes sometimes it's just easier to let go when you've got someone else there with you, I feel like, and just really get to the bottom of something. Whereas if you're by yourself, you won't necessarily allow yourself to go to the deepest places. I don't know. What do you think there?
yeah, I mean, I definitely am at a point now where I can go to the deepest places myself, and that took many years. And also I've done healing work before on other people at one point. That was part of my journey. I find working with others often, it can do two things. We sometimes have blinders on, okay? So they can see past the blinder that you may not be able to identify yourself, and confirmation as well. So the people that I'm working with now, there's two practitioners that I work with regularly to assist me with, bringing up, being able to transmute the rest of the stuff, as well as doing a lot of my own work myself. It's often confirmation. So I'll get the insights and then I'll present it, and then there's confirmation, and then they use their modalities to help transmute it.
Yeah.
So it's the blinders, getting through the blinders, confirmation. So yeah, there's so many benefits of being able to work with other people that are using their gifts that are all aligned to, a more evolved humanity.
Yeah. And just on that note of working with other people, I think it's also important to mention that you'll attract in the right people to help you at the right time. So, trust, I think for everyone at home, it's learning to trust that the right person has crossed your path to get you where you need to go on your journey. And that doesn't mean that you're going to spend forever working with the one practitioner. It means that you might spend 8 months with that practitioner, 2 years with another one later on, have a break for a little while. Like, it's really following that intuition and that guidance about what is next for you on your healing journey as well.
Yeah, I agree. And if you are, it's always good to tune in if they are in alignment. So someone will be presented to you, and then you use your own heart intelligence, intuition, whatever works for you to feel if they are in alignment. And I've had experiences working with people that were not in alignment. Like I remember I had this healing session in Melbourne a few years ago because I met the lady at an event that I went to, and I got a message that it would be good to see a healer, which is I don't go to healers that often. But I got a message it would be good to go to one, and then I met one, and I thought, oh great, okay, well I was just thinking this, and now I've met someone that must be aligned. And I went, and it was a really unhealthy energy session, where they were more like taking my energy, and I had to spend the whole time protecting myself and putting up shields. And so it was quite an experience. And even that can be part of the journey where, there was obviously a reason I needed to have that experience, and there was a lot of lessons that came from that. So sometimes if something feels wrong or bad, like don't get upset with yourself and just say, all right, did I tune in properly, and was I guided to see them? Yes or no. If it was I didn't get a clear answer, then you go, all right, well, next time, how can I get a clear answer? If you got a no and you didn't listen, you can go, all right, well, next time I'll listen. That just proved it. If you got a yes and it was still like that, then you go, what did I learn from the experience that I can evolve from? So there's many different ways to look at what you would label as a bad or a wrong experience.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And thank you for sharing that. I literally had a similar experience probably only 3 to 4 weeks ago with literally a chiropractor. And yeah, same thing where I was like, oh, I've got a sore neck. I need to go see a chiropractor. And then lo and behold, one pretty much appeared in front of me within 24 hours. And I was like, all right. And from within about 10 minutes in, I was like, this is not for me, and for me, like, I ended up obviously taking away from the fact of like, okay, cool, there's some lessons in this that I needed to learn. And for me, those lessons were that I should be trusting my instincts on things and people and situations all at the time. Whereas I'd kind of built this thing where I was like, all right, like maybe I'm like too quick to like trust what I'm thinking. Maybe I've stopped trusting what I'm thinking, and I'm just shutting experiences out. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, cool. Maybe that's what I'm doing. I'll just lean in. There's a chiropractor here. I'll see him. And so what I learned from my experience was that, yeah, I really needed to hold solid. And if I've got a vibe about something, then I need to trust that vibe instead of just going through with that, because all of those vibes have helped me in the past. And every time I don't listen to that intuition and that guidance, that's where I end up going, oh yeah, should have paid attention. So I love that. I literally had a similar experience. So I think that's so amazing. And I think it's part of the journey.
Yeah. And I believe that the information, the resonance, whether it is serving our highest good and therefore the good of all, it is instant. Like, I don't believe it's all we have to go home and strategize and write the pros and cons and speak to 10 friends. And like, that we do get the answers instantly. So really our journey is to be able to receive them ourselves, or really know what a yes is for us and what a no is for us, you
Yeah.
know, and look at the different ways, because we will get it straight away.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of the journey too, being able to receive that yes or no, or that guidance and that information.
Yeah.
And
And
it can take a few days, and you may have to ask 3 intuitive friends, and that's part of you trusting it. That is part of the journey. So
yeah, but it does get easier, just for everyone at home. It does get easier because once you start practicing just trusting all the time, you're good. Like, it does come straight away. Exactly as you said, you can ask a question and you'll get the answer sometimes before you even finish the brain sentence. You know, like you
that
might,
happens to me.
yeah.
Actually, I have this weird thing going on where when I ask someone a question, I get the answer as soon as I've asked it.
Yeah.
So I'll say to somebody, it's simple things. It's like, how many kids do you have? And then I'll get 3. And then I'll say, you know, daughters or sons, and then I'll get 2 sons, 1 daughter, or what do you do for work? And I'll literally hear it. And
Yeah.
then I just feel silly because they'll answer me and I'll go, oh yeah, I know. And then they're like, well, why did you ask me? And I said I had to ask you to know. So I'm still working out how to manage that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's quite an interesting gift, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. And I think also as well, we're so off topic, but it's such a great conversation. So let's just go with it. I think it's interesting as well to think about boundaries when you are asking those questions, because I have the exact same thing. So I can literally be thinking about someone and be like, oh, I wonder what they're doing today. And then I'll know. And I'll be like, oh, wait, they didn't necessarily want me to know that that's what they're doing. Like, I don't want to invade their personal space or boundaries. And so then once that starts happening, you do get that thing of, well, I mean, source wouldn't have told me if it wasn't okay for me to know the information. And so then there's even that sort of trusting in that process of what you are receiving, you're actually allowed to receive. And I liken it to the fact that, like, everyone is always uploading information to this big, I don't know, hard drive in the sky known as source, or the fields, or whatever you want to call them. But it's always like everyone's always uploading information. Like, there's always expansion going on, but you can still access and download information all the time as well. So it's just getting used to the fact that you can literally download that information, whatever you ask, whenever you ask it, in whichever way you want the answer as well. You know, like, if you, yeah, like, a lot of the time you can hear the answer or see the answer or feel the answer or know the answer, or whatever comes through for you. So yeah, I feel like it's a pretty cool, um yeah, pretty cool way to be. I think we're very blessed.
Yeah, and I mean, humans have always had that capacity. It's just in ancient civilizations, some of them, it was more common for everybody, and then other times it was just, you know, the select elite groups of people that you know use those gifts. And then
Yeah.
so a lot of it's to do with power, where you know you disempower people so they can't connect to that, then they can be controlled. So that's traditionally why a lot of people have been disconnected or unaware, but we've always had that capability. And there's obviously been societies like Atlantis and other civilizations where they did use them. So I feel that we are moving more towards that, where everybody's realizing that there's this divine intelligence that they can access.
Yeah, everyone can too. For you guys at home,
Mhm.
we've all got
Yeah,
this.
it doesn't make any difference that we were born with it. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
ultimately ours are going to be stronger than somebody that's just developing it now. That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, so I feel like we should just veer back a little bit to topic. So if someone is a visionary, we've gone through the stages of 3 and 4 of them being an emerging visionary. We've gone through stages of 5 and 6 of where they're starting to really connect in, get flow, get guidance, that sort of thing. What kind of comes next?
Oh, okay. 7 and beyond. Um, so those stages are very they're really about enlightenment, I'm going to say. Okay, so you're moving towards stage 10, like enlightenment, non-duality. And so it's a really beautiful journey. Like in some of the later stages, you're operating from multiple dimensions all at once. So you're like bringing down energy and codes and frequencies from other dimensions, and like purposely being able to put them in certain locations or uplift and do heal. So you're very aware of multi-dimensional capacities and being able to work with these higher beings, and it gets to a point where, and you see this with some gurus or saints that are around, like, you know, Amma, the hugging saint, where she has a team of people that kind of manage and do everything for her, and she just shows up with her presence and energy. So it does get to that stage later on where people are really forming around you and putting your work out there, and just, you know, like the Dalai Lama just opening the way, and you just show up. And that really embodiment, you know, you're really in the embodiment stages and connected to the highest truth of our existence, and really operating from a more creator type energy. So it does get a lot more expansive and beautiful, and those later stages.
I love this journey. This sounds amazing. This sounds super fun. Yeah, this is really cool. I love that you're doing this. This is a really cool offering to be bringing to the world. So thank you so much for bringing this, because this sounds really, really fun. And I feel like there's a lot of people who would be listening to this going, I want access to these things. And I feel like for me, I already have a pretty solid understanding of most, like, all of the stuff you're talking about. And I'm still like, this is amazing. So I'm like, imagine the people who are maybe like less familiar with some of this stuff. This is an amazing offering for literally wherever you are in the journey. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can already have your head wrapped around some of these things, and this is still going to be awesome fun for you. Or you could be just starting to wrap your head around it. It's going to be awesome fun. So I think this is really cool. I really love that you're doing this. So for 3, if there was someone who is starting out on this journey, what are 3 tips that you would give them to help them along their way?
So follow your heart's highest passion. Okay, and I say heart because when you say your passion, there's, I don't know, it's still related to ego, I, historical data, what did I like when I was a kid, what have I been told is my passion. There's a lot of external influences. So when I say your heart's highest passion, it makes a difference, and it can really be in this moment. So, and that a mentor that recently transitioned, that's what he always used to say, follow your heart's highest excitement in every moment. So that's one of the biggest ones. And the second, this is to be able to form what your vision and your calling is. Your heart's highest excitement is a big part of it. Your gifts. So as I said, what are you naturally good at? Is it holding space? Is it listening? Is it empowering people? Is it communicating with animals? Or you really get children? Or, you know, you're gifted with helping women in developing countries? Like there's got to be some gifts that you're very clear with. So that's the second key of defining what your vision is. And then there's either the cause or the industry, the group of people. So it could be education. I'm really passionate about innovating in the education system, or I really want to work with youth or with women, or I feel really passionate about a region in Africa and empowering the people there. So really finding out what that is. So for me, it's visionaries. They're the people that I'm, you know that I'm here to work with, and I'm using the gifts, and then I follow my heart's highest excitement in the work that I'm offering and what I'm doing. So they're the 3 things that I would say to explore and look at when you're starting out.
It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. And I think they're all such valid points, like really connecting in with your heart and following that you're never going to go wrong there. So I literally love all three of those tips. And if people wanted to find you and follow you and do the journey, how do they locate you?
So I actually have a quiz. It's a free quiz, and it helps you identify what stage you're in the visionary's journey. So I always say go there first, and you can access that through the visionariesjourney.com. So it's visionary with a Y and then S. So it's talking about, the personal visionary's journey. And you can access that also on my website, kellyweiss.com. So WEISS. So yeah, check out the quiz, and then it will tell you what stage you're in. And then you'll get a little mini guide. And you can also go on the website and read about the stages, your internal reality, external reality, and what your business looks like at that stage. And then opportunities of how you can get to the next stage. So the good thing about this journey is you can identify where you are now, see where you're going, have a map to where you're going, and see where you've been so you can make peace with the past. And that's actually a really big part of it. If you're holding like these frustrations and scarring and trauma, and then you actually see that that was part of your visionary's journey, you can actually let go of it and really move on and be more present.
Yeah.
So that's really the gift of the journey. So yeah, it's available for free, the framework. I do have a comprehensive guide, for a small amount if people do want to go deeper. And then I send out free weekly emails, a moment of inspiration. So it's yeah, in this moment, what's going to inspire you as a visionary the most. So it could be some insights, some channeling, some stories, some tools.
I literally love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for so much sharing so many resources for people, knowing that they have got the news or the newsletter, email letter, that they have got access to that free guide. Then they've got the access to the deeper information if they need it. Like, thank you so much for sharing all of those things so that everyone can have access to the knowledge if they want to continue on in this journey. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that, Kelly, and it has been so wonderful to have you here today and talk to you.
Yeah, it's been really nice as well. Thank you for having me on here.